98% podcast where we hear real stories from real people. And I'm here with Amanda again for the second time. So bringing you back as a guest to the hot seat. So for those out there, this is the hot seat episode where we ask each other questions and kind of put each other on the spot. So Amanda, you want to tell us a little bit about you real quick?
Yeah, thank you again for having me back. Last time was a lot of fun. This time should be a little more interesting since it's called the hot seat. So I'm kind of anxious about this one. My name's Amanda. I live in California right now. Ricky and I went to high school together at School de Osage. We graduated together. Um, I'm a personal trainer and I have two boys and a fiance, and life has been lifing lately. It's just been really busy with business and the boys and sports, and my clientele is picking up. So it's been a good summer for me so far. So I know I haven't talked to you, I think January, maybe February. So it's been a minute since I've been on here, so there's a lot to cover. I'm looking forward.
Wow. Has it really been since January or February? It's been that long?
I think it was January, February.
That's
I'm almost
wild.
100% sure. I'm 98%.
You're not. Hey, that was clever. So that's crazy. I keep getting notified too, like all the time, like this was a year ago, on Facebook notifications, and I'm like, no way that was a year ago that I did that episode. So I've been reaching out to people lately and just being like, hey, this is from a year ago. You remember? Thanks for the being on the podcast, etc. So it's wild. It just flies.
It is. It flies by. I swear, the older we get, the shorter time gets. It's crazy because I was thinking about, I was like, when was the last time we did the podcast? I'm pretty sure it was January, February. I'm like, it was cold. I remember it being not too long after the New Year, so it's somewhere in there.
Mhm.
In a minute. In a minute. Doesn't feel like it, but here we
No. Wow. Okay. So for the audience out there, just to let them know, so I'll put your story, your first episode at the end of the episode here. So if y'all want to learn more about Amanda, just stay on and you can click and watch her whole video. But I'm ready to get started if you are, Amanda.
are. Ready when you are. Absolutely.
Okay. Sweet. So how I like to do these is I like to do my four questions based on different themes that I know about you.
Okay.
So the first theme is around motherhood. Okay. So this question is, how has becoming a mother reshaped your understanding of strength emotionally, mentally, and physically?
Um, Emotionally, it's all over the place. Especially the older your kids get, I feel like it hits you a little more. When they're little, you're just like, the sleepless nights, like everything seems like a blur. But as you see them get older, like my oldest is going into fifth grade, my youngest is going into first. Emotionally, that's a hard one. Only because I'm a mom, so moms are a little more sensitive than dads. However, I'm not much for sentimental stuff, but
Mhm.
you know, um, it stresses me out sometimes, mainly because my youngest one is autistic, but um, he's very low on the spectrum. So he's still functioning as a normal kid, but there are some things where, he's autistic. But he's very intelligent, very smart. It's just, he sees everybody as a friend. He doesn't see strangers, he doesn't see you as a stranger. He doesn't see you as a bad person. He feels more on different levels whenever he sees a friend or family member upset or angry. So
Mhm.
he holds that really close to him. Like, he takes that personal. Like, how can I help you? Like, why are you sad? Why are you upset? And the world, let's face it, the world's a cruel place. It really is, especially when it comes to your kids. So,
Mhm.
I'm not there 24/7 to protect him and know how things go at school, but I have faith that, he's got his big brother there. They go to a private school, so everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows how he is. They make him feel at home. It's just in the real world when you see him playing with other kids at the park and stuff. It tugs at your heartstrings a little bit because he's STEM. So when he gets excited, he doesn't shout or giggle or laugh. He just, he holds it in, and kids look at him like, what's wrong with him? Like, no, he's happy. Like, that's a good thing. That's, he doesn't know
Yeah.
how to express it. So that I think would be the most emotional, is more so with my younger one than my older one. Obviously the older
Mhm.
one, 'cause that's your first one, and you're just like, wow, how are you 10? How are you in junior high almost, you know? But with my younger one, it's a different level, if that makes sense. Like it's a whole different ball game. Um, what were your other two? I completely forgot.
It was so how has becoming a mother reshaped your understanding of strength emotionally, mentally, and physically?
Okay. Well, mentally, mentally it's a tough one. I think it's tough for anybody. It There's no instruction manual. You just dive in and you dig for strength that you never knew you had, I feel like.
Hmm.
Because you're like, wow, I went through all that, or I'm doing that for my kid just so they can have this. Um, it's um, it's a whole other level than you could ever imagine. I feel personally,
Hmm.
especially when it comes to seeing their challenges. You know, with sports or with school or just communication. Because you want the best for them. You remember how it was for you growing up, so you apply that, and then you know times have changed, so you got to take the good with the bad, and it's a tough one, especially I feel like especially when you have boys. I know everyone's like, oh, but when you have girls or this or that. With boys, it's different because in my eyes, I'm raising someone's husband. I'm raising men. I'm not raising little boys. Like, you know, they know to open a door for someone. They know to say please and thank you. They're well mannered. You know, you see someone sitting by themselves at lunch. I strive because I remember in high school, that was the reason I became a part of the Big Brother, Big Sister program. I don't even know if school the OCH has that anymore. But I remember that was targeted for a lot of kids that struggled with being in foster cares or not having, you know, Christmases and experiencing that or sitting alone at lunch. And I always remember there were a handful of kids, um, sporadically throughout lunch that would sit by themselves. So I would make it a point to sit with them because they weren't by themselves. Or
Hmm.
we had a couple of them in our weights or lifetime class that would be by themselves and like, no, like come stretch with us or, you know, be my spotter or whatever the case was. Just you don't have to do it by yourself. And then they
Hmm.
just kind of, it was nice to see them build that confidence. So I always try to remind the boys, like, you don't know anyone's story. You don't know their struggles. You don't know their weaknesses, but you got to take the time and be nice to everybody. Just how you want to be treated is the core most part of growing up. Like, you have to be nice to everybody. And there's strengths and weaknesses to that because then they don't see bad in anything. You know, that's where sometimes bullying comes along or they, you know, I've seen some of their friends take advantage and that's a hard one too because me as a kid, I was picked on a lot. I was bullied a lot, mostly in elementary school. So that's something I try to teach them, like that's a no-go. It's just not a no-go, you know?
Hmm.
It's different with boys because it's like you have to teach them to defend themselves to a certain extent, or stand up for themselves, or a girl, or other people, or you know their little brother. And in my case, it's I try to stress that to Gavin because he's older, and I'm like, you know, your brother has a learning disability. You gotta look out for him. Like, make sure you know he's having a good day. You say hi to him when you see him at lunch. You say hi to him when you see him at recess, or you make it a point when you walk by his classroom, like, hey, you know, I'm like, everybody knows how he is. So, you know, he gets a little, it's nice to see him get a little extra attention because it boosts his self confidence too. But I feel
Hmm.
like it's like a chain reaction. You see one kid do that and then all kids are like, oh my gosh, like, oh, Tootie, you're cool with the older kids kind of thing, you know? So, that's something we really strive on. That I took a lot of I try to apply a lot of what I did as a kid and my weaknesses and strengths, and I try to apply it towards them. Because when you're a parent, it's a whole other ball game. It's something, it's something you don't realize you have until you're there and you're in that moment. You're like, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna do this for you. There's gonna be, you know, there's things that I want and I probably need that I put aside because I want my kids to have that. But at the same time, you know, I try to teach them the value of this and that. And that's a whole, it's tough. Parenting can be tough and incredibly beautiful at the same time. Like there's no right or wrong way to go about it. You take what you did as growing up as a kid and you try to apply that with how kids are today and how, the world has changed and things are different. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's a lot of it to me,
Okay. Good answer.
roughly. It's
Yeah.
a lot. It's a lot to put into words.
Yeah, no, that's good. Oh, I like that. Okay. So now what's your first question for me?
My first question for you would be, what would your younger self think of where you are today?
Okay.
Younger self would
Uh,
be in junior high, high school age. When you're
cool.
starting to be an adult. Yeah,
That's what I was gonna ask. But what age range? Because younger could be like yesterday. Okay.
exactly.
Let's see. Junior high or high school? Let's see. I think they would be surprised, I would say, at where I am currently. I think as far as work related. So I don't think, especially back then, I didn't realize that I was someone that would train and learn and teach and stuff like that. Because I don't know if you remember this, but I didn't like school very much. I just liked, like, I had friends and I'd hang out with friends, socialize with people, but I didn't really care about the schoolwork and stuff. So that's one thing I think that surprised me. Um, but especially that time too, I just thought I was going to be this musician that was touring and playing stuff all the time too. So that's not where I'm at, but I still am getting back into playing music again. So yeah, so I'd say overall, I think my younger self would be really pretty excited about who I am now, and kind of where I am. So I don't think it would be surprised necessarily. I think it's just not the trajectory I would imagine. So I guess let me think. So if someone came back in time and said, "Hey, this is what you're gonna do at this time," and I was in junior high, I would probably say, I don't know. I'd probably be like, "Oh, really? That's cool." Knowing
Yes,
my personality.
I can
Yeah.
totally picture you saying that too. That's crazy.
I know, because I wouldn't get
That's
overly.
a younger Ricky reply. That's definitely, yeah, that's spot on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right. It wouldn't be super excited. It wouldn't have like no, and I'd just be like kind of stoic, like, oh, cool, it sounds good. Okay,
Very nonchalant, like, awesome. Yep.
exactly. Yep. So I guess that's my answer.
That's a good answer though. I like that. That's interesting. Okay.
Okay.
Let me
Okay, my next. Uh-huh.
give the flashback.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yeah, because I was thinking in the exact moment when you said that, I was actually picturing myself walking the junior high hallways. Do you remember? Did you go to junior high with us?
I didn't. No. I feel like
It
I
was just
did.
high school,
I
right?
know so
Yeah.
many sports. Yeah, just freshman through senior year.
Yeah. See, that's so weird to me that you were only at school for that long because it seemed like you were there for a long time.
Longer than 4 years, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's really interesting.
It is. I feel like I was there longer than that. I really wasn't, but I think it's because my
Mhm.
stepdad too had gone to school the Osage his whole life, and a lot of people had known me because of him. So I kind
Mm.
of I knew a lot of the teachers and stuff beforehand, a lot of the kids. So just like
Gotcha. Okay,
home.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. You ready for your next question?
No, but let's go for it.
Okay. So this one is around physical fitness.
Okay.
So, what does being physically fit mean to you beyond aesthetics or performance? And how has that meaning evolved over time?
I feel like that obviously a lot of us do it for more than being physically fit. We have
Mhm.
our demons or our weaknesses is the reason we do it. My reason was because I was actually dealing with depression because I was going through this whole thing with a heart condition I have. And, even though I was somewhat active throughout my whole life, my parents cut me out of sports because the doctor's like, you're basically gonna pump her heart until it explodes one day if she keeps being so active in sports. Because I was, you go all in when you're part of sports. If you love it that much, you're
Mhm.
gonna give it everything. So I ended up not being able to do sports. That's why in high school I was never part of sports, but I was at every sporting event, or I was part of, the weights and lifetime class and this and that. That was the reason. But it got worse as I got older. I mean, now it's under control because I have more of an understanding, especially with having all my certifications in fitness. Um, so it was more like get it under control, or have basically sit in depression and have a pity party because you're being told you can't do this. But the more you learn and you educate yourself on that field, which is one of the main reasons I got into being a certified trainer, was because I wanted to know my limits, what I could push, educate myself more on, my heart condition, read up on why people stop doing this, or what people do to make it better or maintain it so it doesn't get worse. So I kind of dug myself out of that depression phase. It took a long time. I was actually on depression meds and everything. It got so bad, and then I wasn't working out. I gained a lot of weight. I was actually drinking a lot at that time. This all happened within like a 1 2 year span, totally out of my own. Wasn't me, wasn't something I was known for, but it was this phase I was going through because I didn't know what to do or how to handle it. So, a year or two went by, and then, I started working out and taking care of myself. And then my friends, my new group of friends that I'd met here in California and in college, they're like, oh, let's go to the gym together. You can show me a thing or two. Like, you're starting to look great. You're very committed, et cetera, et cetera. So I kind of started leading them in that direction, and then doing it for so long. I was like, I don't know why I just don't get my certification. Well, I've been doing I've had my certifications for 6 or 7 years now. I got it a little before COVID. Um, and then I just broadened my horizons, and I kept adding to it every year. So I have like 8 certifications, which qualifies me for like elite trainer. But what I do is, a lot of the time when you become a certified trainer, it's just for your state where you are. Mine is actually something I can do universal, which means I can go around the world and travel and train people if I wanted to, and I would be certified for that. So getting that under control, that's why I try to run X amount of miles every week. That's why I try to make it a point, whether I want to or not, depending on how I'm feeling. I do at least 5 to 6 days a week, and I've been like that for 9 years now. Even when I was pregnant with both my boys, I still stayed on my regimen with fitness and this and that. Um, but I feel like it really dug me out of a dark place and kind of a sadness, because being told you can't do something, or being taken out of something you love or want to do, you gotta kind of take the reins by yourself, educate yourself on what you can do, you know, take, not necessarily to go with the bad, but the more you educate yourself and you create your own plan, and then you do your certifications and you're doing the schooling for it. And then here we are. Like, I feel like it was something I did to better myself. And now I actually have such a broad age range of clients now. A lot of them have health conditions. A lot of them deal with depression. A lot of them deal with chronic pain. A lot of them deal with heart issues. Because my youngest client is 9 years old. My oldest client is 72. So, a lot of them, I don't know what it is, but lately I feel like I'm beginning more of the elder people who have heart issues or diabetes or issues with their lungs, etc. And I feel like to an extent I can relate to a lot of them also. But then I can also relate to a lot of the kids here that I have too, because, they're struggling with asthma, or, they have heart conditions, which there's so many heart conditions out there, right? But you find out more about it, as you go along with sports. That's when kids start to realize they have this wrong with them, this wrong with them, this wrong with them. And I feel like, their one-on-one training really helps bring them out of that and keeps them motivated and keeps them on track, because that's something I didn't have when I was a kid. I was just told, nope, you can't do this anymore. So, I don't really know if this answers your question at all of what you asked, because I'm diving so in depth on this, but I feel like that's kind of where my mentality is on that. That's kind of why I do what I do. I feel like that's why fitness is so important to me because back then I was just doing what I thought to maintain it or keep up on my health when really I wasn't doing anything.
Hmm.
I wasn't even doing a proper bicep curl. Who knows? It's just like, oh yeah, I went to the gym, but I looked the same. I wasn't having any transformations. I wasn't inspiring anybody. But the more I took my time and educated myself, the older I got, the better I got. The more I knew I could push my heart to this extent, I could push my body to these limits. So I don't know. That's where that's where I feel I am at on that.
Nice. I like that. So, a couple things. So, one, I don't think I knew that about you. Did I know that you had a heart condition? Did you ever tell me?
But no, very few people knew. It was a handful
Wow.
of people. Yeah, very, very few people
Okay.
knew. Uh
Wow.
and I found out I had it when I was in junior high. Actually, before I moved to Osage, I kept hyperventilating and passing out during basketball games and softball games. And they're just like, we've done all like tests. We don't know like causing it, why she's doing that. But anyway, so after all this testing and blah, 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 I had asthma, outgrew the asthma, and then I had an irregular heartbeat. Okay, cool. That's normal. Actually, my youngest one has it. I ended up outgrowing that, but there was still something happening because my breathing was off, my lips would turn purple. Any little physical activity was just sending me over the edge. It was making it worse. Come to find out, one of my heart valves doesn't function at all. It basically sticks shut. I have one functioning heart
Mm.
valve. So it's just a lot of stress. But, that's when they're like, oh no, you need to stop what you're doing, blah, 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 just eat healthy, et cetera, et cetera. But why would anyone want to stop being physically active? It's like taking sports away from
Yeah.
me, physical activity, blah, blah, blah. That hurt. So, eventually over the years, as I got older, that's when I started educating myself on it more, doing my own research, talking to other cardiologists, and here we are. And I've been doing good ever since.
Yeah. No, and then my other question for you was because I know like when you research, especially things of that nature, a lot of times we get like contradictory information or we get things that doesn't actually help that was supposed to help. So what was that journey like for you? Did it all end up working well or did you hit a lot of roadblocks?
A lot of roadblocks. A lot
Yeah.
of roadblocks. I had a lot of questions. There was a lot of conversations I had with professors, nutritionists. There was several different cardiologists I met with, my regular physician, my coach that I had at the time, which was one that I had met at the gym, and everybody has their own outlook. That was the problem. So everybody, not one size fits all, which obviously, you're not going to get the same cardiologist that has the same input as your other cardiologist or trainer or this. So it was a lot of taking bits and pieces of their information and then plugging it into what I was doing, which was with my school and my professors and my majors. And that I feel like is what took the longest because it's a lot of information. It's overwhelming. There,
Mhm.
like you said, there's a lot of contradictory. There's a lot of, I feel like there's a lot of misleading information too.
Uh-huh.
Cause things change over time. Science change, medicines change, etc. So it was a lot of tears. It was a lot of aggravation. It was a lot of stress. Um, but I feel like with all the information I've had and applied over the last, I want to say like 9, 10 years, I feel like it's been beneficial because I haven't had any issues, major ones. I mean, there's always, once in a blue moon where I have like heart palpitations and then I feel like I'm spiking a fever, but I don't actually have a fever, or I start coughing in the middle of the night because I can't catch my breath. Like there's things like that, but it's things I know how to control, and it's a lot better than it was 10 years ago. So it was an interesting trial and error. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I can imagine. Okay, what's your second question for me?
My second question for you is, what's one of the biggest challenges that you've faced this far in your life? One of the absolute biggest, good or bad?
Biggest challenges? I think this kind of always is my answer for anything like this. I think it would be my divorce. So my divorce was definitely like my biggest challenge that I went through. So it's been over 4 years, so it's been a while. But I think why it was so difficult and why it was such a challenge was because one, I mean, I was married for 12 years, so you get used to like how long that is, right? You get used to like being a certain way, and then all of a sudden it came out of nowhere, like came out of left field. So that's also why it was kind of shocking. Is like all of a sudden one day it's like, hey, I want a divorce, and it's like, oh, hold on a second, what? And I had no idea, didn't know what to do. I remember crying a lot. I remember just really struggling. But the thing is what was fascinating at it is thinking about how far I've come this last 4 years, and that challenge really brought out something in me that I didn't have before, which is pretty cool. It's like I don't know. Like I know I wouldn't be where I am now without it. So it's one of those things like I'm grateful for every day. I wasn't grateful for like the first year or two. Like this is the worst. I hate it. But yeah, as time has gone by, I've just seen how much of a blessing that's actually been. So yeah, I would say that was my biggest challenge. More of just because it was definitely a life shift and it was something I thought I would be doing forever. And yeah, it was the spontaneity of it that just came out of nowhere. So it was unexpected. But yeah, that was my biggest challenge.
Okay. I feel like the first year or two after a divorce or even a really long relationship or a breakup, separation, I feel like that's probably the hardest for anybody. But I feel like it kind of always ends up being a blessing in disguise in a way because you learn a lot about yourself.
You do. Yeah, I learned so much about myself. And also it takes moments like that for us to get stronger. It's funny, like you got to be out of that element. It's like you got to, what do they say? Iron sharpens iron, right? So it's like you got to go through those tough moments in order to get where you are. So without it, I don't think I'd be able to do what I do now or be the person I am now without it. Or if I was, it would have taken a long time.
It would taken a long time. You would have found that
Yeah.
person like 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was like a way to fast track some things. Painful, but it was a fast track.
That's adulting at its finest for a lot of us.
Exactly.
And that's
Exactly.
okay. That's okay. That's life. That's okay.
Absolutely. Okay. You ready for question three?
I am.
Okay. This is around being a personal trainer.
Okay.
So, as a personal trainer, how do you balance pushing people toward their limits while honoring where they are emotionally and physically each day?
It's an excellent question, actually, because every body we know is different. Everyone's
Hmm.
goals, weaknesses, strengths, it's all different. Their capabilities, their attitudes. Everyone comes in here with a goal. Okay. Everyone comes to me with a goal. And right now, keep this in mind. I have 15, 16 clients. Okay. That's on Zoom. That's in person. That's, me going to them, and that's classes. So that's a good chunk of people to have to know individuals. It's a lot of homework. It's a lot of homework you have to
Hmm.
do. It's not, oh, you're just going in for a nail appointment or you're going into, I don't know, get your oil changed or something. No, you have to know each individual in different depths. So knowing them, getting to know them, it takes time. So I like to always have them do a virtual consultation and then an in-person consultation before we even start any of their sessions because I want to know about them. So having them in person, I feel like it's more relatable because you can tell a lot by eye contact and body language versus
Hmm.
when I do the virtual. That's why I do two of them, and I try to do them within the same week. I'm like, okay, this is what we know. What you said it's your virtual, what you filled out on your consultation. This is what we're talking about in person. So a lot of the time, some of them can have, I'm not gonna lie, really shitty attitudes, and that's okay because I don't know their story yet. I don't know what they're fighting. I don't know why they're feeling a certain type of way. And then you have others that are high on life and they're ready to go and tackle everything you throw at them. So it's a hard thing to brush up on because everyone's attitude changes every time. Everyone has their own stories. Everyone has their demons. Everyone has their highs, their lows. But I try to kind of find out how their week's been, how their day's been whenever they come in, why they're doing their warm ups. I can get an idea like, okay, they're in a good mood. Let's push them a little harder. Okay, they're going through, a little sad slash depression time. Let's distract them a little bit. So my goal is to always make them feel at least 80% better than when they came in. And it never fails. It never fails because I take the time to get to know them, have personal conversations with them. Sometimes I distract them with a solid movie or a good playlist, and then I'm like, you know what? Look what you just did. And I'm like, oh my god, I just lifted that weight. Oh my gosh, did I do that long on my warm up? Did I do, So it kind of puts a
Uh-huh.
little pep in their step, so they're in a better mood whenever they come out versus when they come in. But that's why my sessions take a long time because I need to kind of get a feel of what they're going through in that state of mind, in that moment, how their week's been. Some of them are dealing with death or sicknesses or divorces or breakups or, they're struggling with school or whatever the case may be. But that's why I've got to be on my A game. I always make sure like, okay, you have my full attention. Like, how is it going? You tell me, how are you feeling? Give me an idea of where we are. Give me an idea of how you slept. Did you eat before you came? When's your last meal? How was your water intake? So I try to plug all that information in and then it gets the ball rolling. Their
Uh-huh.
attitude changes. Some of them like to talk about it. Some of them like to close off and just focus and go heavier and harder, which is totally fine. But then it's nice to see them all, every single one of them walk out with a smile. And I know that's because it's therapeutic for them. It's it's a weight off their chest. Whatever they came in with, they left here. I sage everything because I'm a big believer in that. I'm like, all right, all bad juju out. You feel good. You left. You had a great day. And then when they come back for the next session, I'm like, okay, how did we feel? Like, how did you feel for that day? How did you feel the
Uh-huh.
following day? So I try to really get on personal levels with them. And so far, every one of them has opened up or wanted to get personal or, if they don't want to, that's totally fine. They eventually talk about it. Or they're like, you know what, Amanda, I really needed that. Or they'll just give me a hug and that's it. And then they're done. So that's my answer.
I like it. I like it. Well, it sounds like you're doing a great job at personal training.
Thank you. I like to think I am. If I'm not,
Yeah.
then somebody's got to say something.
Yeah.
They're like, oh man, I'm afraid to. She might make us do burpees or something, but they
Yeah.
know. They know.
So, it's you, right? So, what's the third question for me? Is that right?
Uh,
Think so, because I just gave you the third one, right?
yep.
I did.
Yep.
Yep.
So this is your third one. All right. Um, Let me see. Did I have that one? Okay. Who is the most influential person in your life right now?
Hmm. Most influential.
I mean, and it can be someone that passed away too, that
Yeah,
has
yeah.
been, but I'm curious because I know no one's ever asked you that question. At least
No,
not what I
nobody's asked me that, and I have never thought of that question in my entire life. Um, it's interesting. Um, hmm.
It's
Most
such a basic question, but
influential.
it can be really hard.
It is. Well, it's difficult for me too because I've always been the type of person that I've never really. I don't feel like I've ever had people that I've looked up to or that I've looked or that I've thought about that I looked up to, at least consciously. So it's kind of interesting. So when I think about influential, I mean, if we're thinking logically, I'm going to have a few answers for this probably because I'm trying to think it out. So, logically speaking, I mean, I'd say my dad or my mom, my parents, because they kind of shape who we are for the most part, especially when we're younger. So I'd say that was probably the most influential as far as a young age. Um, but I would say this might be someone I don't know. So thinking about So I've read a lot of books and I've done a lot of podcasts or listened to a lot of podcasts. I've learned a lot of stuff from certain individuals. Obviously, I never met them, but I just remember like reading, like there's been books that I've read that I've just been like, wow, like that changed a lot of the way I think. Um, for sure. So like I think like Ryan Holiday's one of them. So I think I have his book over. No, don't have his book over here. I did. Um, but he has a book. He's a Stoic philosopher, essentially like a modern day one. And he had this book called Obstacle is the Way, and that was probably one of the most influential books that I had for the time that I was going through. So I read that one initially, actually during my divorce, like right when I got divorced, essentially, and it really shaped how I was perceiving things. Um, the whole premise of it is, the obstacle is the way, right? The thing in the way is the way. It's not, you don't need to find a way around it. You actually have to go through it. And it was all based around your perception of the thing. And if you can shift your perception of whatever it is, you change the meaning behind it. And it was really powerful to think about those moments in that type of light of like, man, this sucks. I hate this. Like I'm going through all this stuff, and it's like, but what if I shift the perception instead of thinking of it like that? What if I thought of this as um, some type of learning opportunity? I thought about this as this is the way forward. So what am I going to take from this situation or from this obstacle? And it was actually pretty fascinating. So I would say at that point, that really influenced me a lot. And there was another book by Mark Manson called which one was this one? This one was, I can't remember if it was his first or second. I can't remember if it was The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F or if it was his other book. But the reason why I like that book is because that's actually one of the reasons why I named the podcast what I did, the 98% podcast, is because in his book, he was talking about mass media exceptionalism. He was talking about how basically we're only seeing the exceptional all the time through social media platforms, through news, through whatever, and it skews what reality actually is. And when you actually get down to, the 98% or the us, right, the normal population, you start to realize that you're not alone and that everybody's going through similar stuff. Everybody's struggling. Everybody's basically just everything you do is actually normal for the most part. And it's just like this weird thing that we deal with is this intake of exceptional stuff. So it kind of gets us feeling like we're not enough, or it makes us feel like we need to be doing more, or all that type of stuff. So that was kind of one of the things that also influenced me. Like I said, it is podcast, but also influenced me to yeah, just think a little differently. So yeah, so I'd say the most influential people are probably the people I've learned from as far as books and podcasts, because mostly because of the moment that I went through. And I think about where I am now. If I wouldn't have read those or listened to those podcasts, I would be very different now, I think.
I like.
So my, yeah,
And who was the second author? What was his
Mark
name?
Manson.
Mark Manson. I'm gonna have to look into that. Okay.
Yeah, it's a good book because he's like a anti self help author.
Okay.
So it's like self-help, but it's like through a different lens. And I loved it because when I was listening to both his books, I listened to audiobooks. I resonated a lot with it because of the approach he takes. So I started thinking like, oh, okay, well that makes so much sense. And like it's a very realistic approach. And it's easy to digest too. So if you haven't read those books, I definitely recommend it. It's pretty darn cool.
I'm gonna have to look into those because it sounds really interesting. I mean,
Hmm.
obviously, it was a positive outcome. So anything, any book, any author that has that kind of impact on somebody, it's definitely worth the read. I like that.
Yeah, I think so. So that's my answer as of now. It might change, but as of on the spot, that is my answer.
I'll ask
Great
you again
question,
in
though.
the future.
There you go. Yeah, yeah, do it, do it. Okay.
It'll, I'm
So,
sure.
so we're on our fourth one now. Okay, so this is the last one for you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, this one is around goals. So, have you ever reached a goal and realized it didn't bring what you expected? And how did that change how you set goals moving forward?
Yeah, actually. a goal was my ultimate goal, and the reason I was in college, I wanted to be a sports broadcaster. So that's what I wanted to do. That was my reasoning for going to college. That was my goal. I was going to be on ESPN and interviewing football, basketball. I was going to be all
Mhm.
in that. That was going to be the life. That was my ultimate goal. It was like do or die. This is what we're going to do. We'll do whatever it takes. Things changed along the way. That was
Mhm.
definitely a goal that I obviously didn't achieve, but I kind of took the I want to say I took the scenic route. I want to say I took
Mhm.
the scenic route instead. Because I'm still involved in sports, and that's mostly with a lot of the athletes I train, especially a lot of the junior high and high school and elementary kids, because they're all athletes, whether it's volleyball, soccer, football, basketball. I'm their personal trainer for that. So kind of along the same lines, not exactly, but I get to hear how their sports are. I get to hear how they're achieving in that. I get to hear if they made a goal or they got a home run or they got their first touchdown and how their practices are going, if they got bumped up on the team or changed positions. So, and on those levels, I get to talk to them like, oh, who's your favorite athlete? What's your favorite team? So that's always fun. And then, they're like, oh, at my session, this game's going on. The Dodgers are playing or, soccer's on. Can we put it on while I'm working out? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, of course. So like I said, I took the scenic route with that one. But obviously I didn't ever achieve that goal and I'm kicking myself in the butt right now. I could have just stuck it out, but life had other plans for me. Um, if I could do it now, I would. I would still go back to college and try to do it and try to be that girl on ESPN interviewing all the players and being behind the scenes and it would have been a game changer, but I took parts of that goal and I just applied it elsewhere, really.
Mhm.
So it was just kind of a different turn of events.
Yeah. So two follow-ups. So one, is this still a potential goal of yours? Like, would you pursue it one day?
I like to say yes. I don't ever want to say no because if I
Mhm.
say no, it's just me shutting out that idea because you never know. So I want
Mhm.
to say yeah, it could possibly be a goal still I could reach and I can achieve and can make happen. Even if I'm 50 years old, I'm like, you know what, I'm here. I'm here at 50 years old, out there on the court interviewing LeBron James and his kid or whoever. You know, it can still happen. It can still happen. There's still, that door is a quarter of the way open. So
Okay. Okay. I like that. That's good.
thank you.
Okay. So we ready for the final one for me?
Yeah. Which you kind of already answered it, but I want to dive in depth on that. See if I can
Okay.
depth on it a little bit. So my final question for you was, what made you create your podcast? And
Hmm.
how far do you plan on taking your podcast? Is this a forever thing? Is this just a now thing?
Okay. So yeah, I did kind of explain it a little bit. That was kind of fun. Um, yeah, so that's how I came up with the name anyways. So in that name has two meanings. So one is, right, we only see the 2% exceptions, et cetera. So the story I told, but also it can also be used as the lens of like what we actually show people on a day-to-day basis. We tend to show people like 2% of our lives, right? When there's so much under the surface, or there's 98% of us that nobody knows, and you'll find out if you just ask the right questions.
Mhm.
So I think that's important. So the reason why I started it was because I started it, or I had the idea during my divorce, and it was when I was reading that book and stuff. And this was before I even thought about it being a podcast. I was just reading that book and I was struggling with feeling like I was the only one going through what I'm going through. And I realized, logically speaking, that's not true. People go through stuff like that all the time. But for me, like as far as feelings go, I felt like I don't think anybody's gone through this. And I felt very lonely. Um, so I noticed that when I was chatting with people, the more I talked to people, the more I started realizing that people are all going through the same stuff. And I started realizing that like firsthand. And the more I started talking to people, the more I started enjoying talking to people and people opening up and sharing with me. And that kind of stemmed into me just realizing, like, man, I just like hearing people's stories. Like, I like asking questions and listening to people. So that's kind of where I'd say the podcast idea came from, as far as I think, inspiration behind it. But the podcast itself was created. I was still working at Nike at the time, and uh, yeah, I was enjoying listening to podcasts. I was like, well, I could start a podcast. So I started thinking about little details here and there, name, what I wanted to do. And I was like, I want to ask questions because I really enjoy doing that. So I formulated the questions real quick on what I wanted to ask each guest. I had a list of people that I wanted to have on the podcast, like a ongoing list. And yeah, and then it took me being laid off. So I got laid off from Nike, and in between being laid off from Nike and starting a job I'm at now was the perfect opportunity to start the podcast because I had nothing better to do. And it created an opportunity for me to, like, okay, let's dig in. So, talking to people and figuring out, like, oh, they use this podcast platform. You like it? Yep. Okay, well, let's use that. Like, just going by, and it's just I started realizing how important a network is, and I realized I didn't have a network. Like, I had acquaintances, but not as many as I thought I did. But doing the podcast, I realized I know way more people than I thought I did, because I tend to reach out all the time and, like, oh yeah, so and so, like, let's talk. I want to catch up. And I'm just like, let's catch up over podcast. You cool with that? And most people are like, yeah. I was like, okay, cool. Um, but yeah, started it during that time, and yeah, just hit the ground running. And it's been more difficult since I've been working. Again, I've been working since last September. It's getting close to a year, but at this job. But it's still been interesting. I've really enjoyed it. So the way I see it, I want to keep doing it all the time. I've committed to doing one once a week. I think I've only missed like 1 or 2 weeks in the last year or something without guests, and which is saying something because I've had so many times where I've had two guests cancel, three guests cancel. I think I'm getting ahead of it, and then something happens, and it's like, okay, it's no big deal. I understand it, but it's like, man, I need to have somebody. But it tends to work out where I have somebody each week. So the way I see it, keep doing it because I know podcasts are kind of slow burns. Like, it takes a while, like, it's to get any traction. So I can't get too bogged down in numbers or anything like that. So I just do it because I enjoy it. And the way I see it is, if I continue to have zero success, let's say, and we'll say success is in monetization success from YouTube or whatever it might be on, um, I still won't regret doing it. I think what I'm getting from it is I'm connecting with people like you and people that I don't know, people that I we're acquaintances with. We could say friends, but it's times like these where I get to really know you and know people, and it's rewarding. And just like I said, the network and the people that I've been able to connect with, and I don't know, it's been fascinating. So yeah, so I will continue to do this for as long as I can for the foreseeable future. um and we'll see what happens with it. So it would be cool one day to be able to do this full time, and we'll just wait to see when that happens. So,
It's a goal. It's a goal, but it's headed in the right direction. I can tell you that.
oh, thank you.
It's exciting. It really is.
Hmm.
Podcasts are fun. Everyone, if they haven't done one, everybody should at least try it once in their life because it gets addicting. Like when you asked me, I
Yeah.
said, yeah, because Adam Otto and I were talking about it. We're like, oh, are you going to do a podcast? And I'm like, well, when Ricky reaches out or whatever. And then it was a few weeks later, I'm like, oh, yes. All right, cool. Sounds good.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's
Yeah.
universe.
Yep. See, I'm trying to get Adam back on the podcast again. So I'm gonna put him on blast right now because he's like, I can't do it right now, and he's got his reasons why, and I'm sure they're valid reasons. But he just texted me today
Yeah.
saying, like, I'll have to pass for now, but I'll do a conspiracy theory episode. I was like, well, we'll do a conspiracy theory episode. I'm fine with whatever. Let's connect and let's have some fun.
That
So
would be a fun
yeah.
one. We'll get
Yeah.
all three of us will go on there. We'll do a little throwback one.
We could totally do that. Maybe. Man, that would be kind of fun. What if we did I mean, this might be way too many people. It's like, what if we did like a 20-year anniversary,
I was just
like
thinking
Osage edition, and just had everybody hop on this call and we just talked about stories, connected. I mean, that would be a cool time.
it would be a great time. I that's what big podcasters do, though. That's how they
Yeah.
rise, and that'd be even if you get a solid 10 people on it, that's a good group. That's a good
Hmm.
group. That would be an interesting podcast. You
It
should.
would.
A nice little throwback. Everybody
Okay.
reminiscing, catching up. People that can't go back for the reunion. We do it here.
Okay.
So
I'll do it. Well, we got 2 years.
we do. That's crazy. Oh
Two
man.
years. I wonder if I'm
Uh,
gonna have to help. I wonder if we have to help plan this one because I did our 15-year reunion because nobody else did it, and I was like, I want to get everybody together, so I just put everything together.
you do
So
it.
we'll see. We need to get
Well,
some people together.
we'll have to really start getting the word out there now. Be like, you know,
Hmm.
what to expect. Because
Well,
I think we get a solid group on there.
agreed.
It would
Well, agreed. And yeah, what Jody and I did is we created that alumni Facebook group that I'm sure
yeah,
you
which is
into. So
great.
that was the
Yeah.
reason why we did that is so we could have a connection point.
Okay. I like that though. I like it because every now and again you're like, oh, we got someone posted in there or something. Like, it's
Hmm.
nice. It's nice. And I know people can't do it all the time, but it's nice when they can.
Yeah,
That's
I like
what I
it.
did. There you go.
Yeah.
That'll
Okay.
be,
Okay, we gotta go.
all right.
Are you gonna go?
I'm going to go wherever you go.
Wait, what do you mean go?
Are you talking about the reunion?
Yes, you're gonna go, right?
I mean,
Okay, you
I would
better.
love to. Yeah.
I was
I
gonna
would
say
love
we
to.
can't.
It's going to be 20 years.
Okay, because I was gonna say we can't talk this big game and not show up to
No, we
the.
can't. Okay, I will. I will. I'm going to put it out there.
Okay.
I'm going to.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Good. That's
Like
the
you said,
spirit.
it's not cute.
Okay. Good.
We're already talking about we have to.
Okay.
That's
Deal.
it's there. It's still.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
recorded. It's signed. It's stamped.
Yep. I'll hold you to it too. When we're months before, I'll say, I'll say, hey, we got to do it. And you'll be like, well, I have this. I'll be like, no, no, no. Remember when you said it's recorded? Let me send you the clip from the episode.
See? Yeah, that's my word right there. That's my word. This
Yeah. There we
is
go.
my word right here. So we'll have
I like
to.
it.
I'll remember. I'll remember. But that 2 years is gonna come and go real quick.
It will.
Real.
It will. Yep.
Making us so
Well,
old.
Amanda, I appreciate you being on the podcast again.
Thank you for having me. It's always a blast. It's always a blast. I love the topics we cover. I always look forward to it. So thank you for your patience and the questions. Questions were on point. They definitely put
Hey,
you in the hot
yeah, your questions were on point too. So,
seat.
so yeah, we'll do this again. So whenever I come up with another theme of some type, I'll invite you back to the podcast. Okay.
Sounds good. I'll be there.
Okay. Awesome. Well, on that note, have a good one, and I'll see you
Thank
later.
you. You too, Ricky. Bye.
Bye.